Yesterday, we started the chapter on periodic classification of elements, and we understood the very basics of matter, elements, compounds. We looked at atoms, molecules, protons, electrons, neutrons. We understood how one thing combines to form the other thing. And we realized that there are not just 20 or 22 elements, but there are 118 elements. And it will become very difficult to study each one of them separately. It will make more sense to make groups of them, groups of similar elements, and then study those groups. And first such main attempt was done by the German scientist Dobreiner. We saw how the triads worked. Today, what we are going to do is see how more research was done and better classification methods were arrived at. I hope you have come prepared to the class. This is how the session would be. A quick revision of what we studied in the last class, especially Dobreiner's triads. Then we will progress with the topic of classification of elements, where we will study the law of Newland's octaves and Mendeleev's periodic table. And towards the end, we will finish by a quick introduction to the modern periodic law, modern periodic table. We will do this so that when you read on your own to prepare for the class tomorrow, you will not be lost. You have something to hold on to while you are reading. Give me a thumbs up if you are ready to begin. Good. So, the main thing that we studied in the last class was Dobreiner's triads. If you remember what Dobreiner did, that he was trying to study the properties of the elements that were known at his time. And if you read the textbook carefully and properly, you would realize that when this scientist, Dobreiner, was working, there were only 30 odd elements that were discovered. Not many, only 30 odd. And what he did was, he first he guessed that there must be some relationship between the properties of the elements and their atomic masses. And we understood that the reason he would have thought about atomic masses was, at that point in time, we did not know, human beings did not know that atoms were formed of protons, electrons, and neutrons. So they did not know that there can be something called as atomic number. Okay? So all they knew with clever science experiments and mathematics, that every atom has a mass, every element is made up of one kind of atom, and that atomic mass is the atomic mass of the element. During his study, Dobreiner's study, he realized that he can group elements and group them in threes, make groups of 3 elements. For example, lithium, sodium, and potassium. And he grouped them in such a way that the average of the atomic mass of the middle element, no, the average of the atomic mass of the lightest and the heaviest was the atomic mass of the middle element. For example, we looked at this question where lithium's atomic mass is 6.9, potassium's atomic mass is 39.1. When we take the average of it, we come to 23, and atomic mass of sodium in itself is 23. Using this logic, he grouped 3 elements in each of the groups. And he realized that when he did that, the properties of the elements in each group there were some similarities. So he thought that this is how we may classify all the elements. Unfortunately, he could not classify all the elements. At that point in time, around 30 elements were known. He was not able to classify even those 30 elements using this law. We looked at the examples of calcium, strontium, barium, chlorine, bromine, iodine, and we also solved questions related to magnesium, calcium, strontium, sulfur, selenium, tellurium, beryllium, magnesium, and calcium. This is what we studied. So this was a problem. A rule is a rule only when it applies to everything. Gravitation, universal law of gravitation, it applies to everything. In mathematics, if we say, if we have to calculate 1 plus 2, it is 3. But if we have to calculate 2 plus 4, we will have to use different rule. And we cannot have 6, but we will have 7. That kind of rule will not work. That is why the rule of Dobryner's triads, which was about groups of 3 elements, such that the average of the lightest and the heaviest, average of the atomic mass of the lightest and the heaviest, was the atomic mass of the middle element, did not work all the time. Please confirm if this is okay. So in the last class, we left by asking what to do then if this doesn't work. And Chand gave us a hint that there would be another scientist. He would find something else, or she would find something else. Yes, that is what has happened. Before we get into that, a very, very, very clear warning to all of you, and especially those who are not studying, that please carry on, please keep catching up, don't give up. If you give up, if you don't try enough, this chapter in specifically and studies in general, what will happen very soon is there will be so much to do, it will become impossible. A warning, even specifically for this chapter. So yes, as Chand had suggested, there was another scientist. Remember, Dobryner was German. Then came another scientist called Newman, John Newland, not Newman, Newlands. John Newlands. See this, how I have spelled his name. His surname, his last name ends with a S, Newlands. So Newland ka in English, when a noun ends with a S and we have to show the possessive character of that noun. If we have to show possession for that noun, then we will just use the apostrophe. We will not use the S after that. If the name was Newland, then we would have written Newland apostrophe S. But the name is Newlands. So the apostrophe will be there, but the S after that will not be there. John Newlands. And he came up with a law of octaves. You will come across this word octaves all in the world of music also. In Indian music, we have the swaras sa, re, ga, ma, pa, dha, ni. 7. And at the end, there is another sa which goes on to another scale.
Addition.
Right? So, in a way, there was a strange coincidence between the music and what Newland observed in case of elements. Yes, Prachi, it's a saptak, right? It's a saptak. In Hindi, it is a saptak because there are 7, but the 8th one repeats, so it relates to octaves. OCT relates to 8. Very useful name. What did he find out? What did he do? And clearly, some time has passed from Dobryner to Newlands. By the time Newlands was working in England, he was a British scientist. There were more elements that were discovered.
म्यूट में है वो. अरे ऑन है. म्यूट है उसको दबा. अभी देखो अभी
So from the time of Dobrynin to the time of John Newlands, more elements were discovered. I don't really know exactly how many, but there were around 60, I guess. So the number of elements that were known to humans had doubled from 30 odd to 60 odd. Newlands also did something very, very similar to Dobrynin. He also started from the concept with the concept of atomic mass. He also arranged all the known elements in the increasing order of their atomic mass. The lightest element known at that time was hydrogen, and the heaviest element known at that time was thorium. And when he arranged them in the increasing order, he realized, and this is the most important part of his observation, that every eighth element, the properties of every eighth element were similar to those of the first one. What does it mean? He started with hydrogen, then came lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, which is the eighth element. So when he was arranging these elements in the increasing order of their atomic mass, he realized the properties of hydrogen and fluorine were similar. That is the meaning of this sentence. That the properties of the eighth element were similar to those of the first one. What it also means is, when he continued to do this, the properties of lithium and sodium were similar, beryllium and magnesium were similar, boron and aluminium were similar, carbon and silicon were similar, nitrogen and phosphor were similar, properties of oxygen and sulfur were also similar. When he continued even further, the properties of hydrogen, fluorine, and chlorine were similar, lithium, sodium, and potassium were similar, beryllium, magnesium, calcium, boron, aluminium, chromium, carbon, silicon, titanium, nitrogen, phosphor, manganese, oxygen, sulfur, iron. This is what he observed. Now notice that it's all fine till we have iron, but things start getting messy after iron, right? Things start getting messy after iron. And the first thing that you would note is, you see cobalt and nickel are written together. Then here Ce and La, tellurium and lanthanum are written together. It seems that there is not enough space, or something happened because of which Newlands could not have a proper list, could not have a proper table. It's very, very clear. So let's next try understand what exactly happened when he was doing this. As we rightly guessed from the previous slide, yes, there were some problems. So here again I will tell you कि हाँ, जॉन ल्यूनेंट्स ने इतना सारा काम किया लेकिन उसमें प्रॉब्लम था. Be ready for that. So first problem was the law that the properties repeat after every 7. That is, the property of the 8th element is similar to the property of the 7th element. It worked till calcium. यहाँ तक काम किया. After that, things did not seem to work. Right? One question that we should be able to answer, not now, but once we have understood the structure of the atoms and what the latest periodic law says, is why was Newland's law not applicable, law of octave, not applicable, or he was not able to use it properly after calcium? So remember this question. We will try to answer this question when we study more. This is not given in the textbook, but it's very interesting to answer and interesting to know why someone failed, why something did not work. Another matter of fact was he created a table just like this, and it says musical notes. In Hindi, in India, we have Saregama Padhani. In English, the Western music, we have Do Re Mi Fa Sol, all those things. Right? He created a table. He created a table which had 56 places, 56 boxes. Where are the boxes? Right now we have the boxes. Now we have the boxes. The complete table is not shown here. So what is 7? What is 8? 7 is the number of columns, the saptak that Prachi said, right? Columns 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And he had 8 rows. And we know with simple mathematics, if there is a table with 7 columns and 8 rows, there will be 7 into 8, 56 places. And only 56 places, not more, not less. But by this time, when this scientist was working, there were more than 56 elements already discovered. So he has a table of 56 places, but he has to put more than 56 elements in that table, and that is why he was forced to put more than one element in each of the cells. So these were 2 of the problems. There were more. What were they? The next problem was he was forced to put elements which were not similar. For example, the case of iron. Iron. We all know iron is a metal. We all also know that oxygen, sulfur are non-metals. But going by the principle, going by just atomic mass, Newlands had to put iron along with oxygen and sulfur. Doesn't work. Similarly, if we look at cobalt and nickel are metals, and they are very unlike the other elements in this group, which is hydrogen, fluorine, chlorine, and bromine. But that's the best place he could find based on the information that he had. Right? So what we are learning is, although there seemed to be some logic to what he had done, the logic was not foolproof, and mainly the problems arrived after calcium, with elements after calcium. Things were pretty normal till the element calcium. And then there were some very, very logical problems. What if more elements were discovered? In his table, there was place for only 56 elements. It was very much possible that human beings would discover more and more and more elements, and now it has become a reality. We know 118 elements. We can't fit 118 into a table of 56 places. It was also observed that when more and more new elements were found, they were not following the law of octaves. They were not following the law of octaves. So all these problems, problem 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, they told us, they told Newland, Newland understood that there was something wrong with the logic. Now, before we proceed further and understand what was done next to fix the logic, if you have understood what Newland found, what he did, Can you try and tell me, how would you define, if I ask you to write the law of octaves in your own words, how will you do that? I'll read what Karthik has said. Karthik has said, the elements are arranged in order of increasing atomic mass, then property of eighth element is similar to the first element. Yes, it is 99.9% correct. The only thing that I was looking for, Karthik, and the entire class is, we should have said, when the elements are arranged in order of increasing atomic mass, then property of the eighth element is similar to the first element. Or if we remember what we have learned in geometry, conditional statements, we could have used if then. If the elements are arranged in the increasing order of their atomic masses, then the property of the eighth element is similar to the first one. Done. I'm saying that if we arrange the elements in the increasing order of their atomic mass, then the property of every eighth element is similar to the first one. So now we have seen that both these scientists, the German scientist Dobryner and the English scientist John Newlands, both started with the basic concept of atomic mass. They worked with the elements that were known to them at that time, and they arranged them in a particular order and observed their properties. We have also understood that their observations or their rules, they were applicable to some elements, but not all. Then comes another hero. His name is Mendeleev. From German to English to Russian, Mendeleev. What did he do? So from the time of John Newlands, more time has passed. Some more elements have been discovered, not many. To be precise, when Mendeleev was working, he was aware of 63 elements. Even now, he did not know about atomic number, electrons, protons, neutrons, but he knew about atomic masses. So he also started the same way. He looked at the atomic masses of the 63 elements that were known to him. He arranged them in the increasing order. But then he did something that Dobryner and Newlands did not do. He did something more. He did something new. He did not just blindly follow the increasing order of the atomic masses of the elements. After he arranged the known elements in the increasing order of their atomic masses, he grouped them based on their chemical and physical properties. Understand the difference. Understand how what he is doing is different from what Dobryner and Newlands did. The previous scientists, they just arranged the elements and then they observed similarity in their properties. Whereas this scientist, Mendeleev, he is arranging the elements in the increasing order, then he's not observing the similarity. He is grouping them based on the similar properties. That is the difference. And when he did that, again, it's very, what time is, which year is this? It is 1869 to 1872. So not much was known even then. So he was he worked with some basic properties, some basic physical and some basic chemical properties. The basic physical properties that he considered were melting point, boiling point, density, melting point, boiling point, density of the elements that he was studying. Also, the hydrogen compounds of these elements and the oxygen compounds of these elements. And where chemical properties were concerned, he considered the molecular formula of the hydrides and oxides, that is the hydrogen and oxygen compounds of these elements. So when he did this using all the 63 elements that were known to him, then he ended up with a table. And that table he called the periodic table. The reason it was called a periodic table is just like what Newlands observed, Mendeleev also observed that the properties of elements repeat at a regular interval. He did observe. But because he did not blindly follow only the atomic masses of the known elements, there were certain peculiar things about the table that he formed. And these peculiarities are specific to the table that Mendeleev formed. They were not there in the table that Newlands formed. Before we go into the peculiarities of the table, let us agree on some terminology. The columns are called as groups, and the periods or the horizontal rows, the rows are called as periods. The columns are called as groups, and the rows are called as periods. Please observe this table carefully. When you are observing, try to understand how many groups are there, how many periods are there. Try see, do we have elements placed in each of the cells? Think why or why not. There are some blanks, there are some question marks. Think why or why not. What I want you to notice is three things. The first thing is that there are places like this which are blank. Then there are places like this. They're not completely blank. The atomic mass is given, but the name of the element is missing. Right? Also, the third thing that you need to take note of is this. There are certain things with question marks. There are certain things with question marks. As Satyam and Ankit have said, right? The blanks are there because he grouped the elements with similar properties. So hydrogen, helium, hydrogen, lithium, sodium, potassium. If you look at group 1, they are same. That is why they kept them together. He kept them together. And while he was forcefully doing that, some cells were vacant. Some places were vacant. Now, where you see that the number is there, but the name is not there, what it means is he was able to predict, he was guessing, he was making an estimate that there will be an element with atomic mass 68 that will be discovered. There will be an element with atomic mass 44 that will be discovered. There will be an element with atomic mass 72 that will be discovered. He could make some estimations, and in some cases he could not, based on what technology was available to him. And he put question marks where these were kind of very, very new elements and the names were still not clear. It was not decided. It was not 100% clear to everyone in the world that yes, DI will be DI or CE will be CE or ER will be ER. That was still being decided. That is why the question mark. So the three things we are noticing is number one, for some things, he just believed that more elements are going to be discovered. I don't know what the atomic mass will be, and I don't know what the name will be. That is case number one, like this. In some other situations, he did not know. He was sure that something will be discovered, and he was more sure that the atomic mass will be around this. The atomic mass will be around 68. The atomic mass will be around 72. So he was more certain. This is second type of situation. And the third type of situation is where the element is already discovered. We know the atomic mass, but we are still not sure of what the names would be. Now let us analyze how good or how bad this periodic table was, or even before that, because he observed that the properties are repeating after at a regular interval. So he also got a law, right? Now this law is not called a law of octaves, but it is just called the periodic law, Mendeleev's periodic law. And very easily it states, very simply it states, properties of elements are periodic function of their atomic masses. Properties of elements are periodic function of their atomic masses. Scientists always use mathematical terminology. Periodic function here means the properties of elements repeat after equal intervals. That is the meaning of periodic function. The properties of elements repeat after regular intervals. So he kind of agreed with what Newlands observed, that the properties of every eighth element were similar to the first one. Now, once you have noted down these questions, let us go back to the periodic table that Mendeleev produced. And let us study this table in a little bit more detail, and let us look at it from the chemical point of view, the chemistry point of view. Remember, we said Mendeleev did not limit himself to atomic mass. He looked at the physical properties and chemical properties. Physical properties, melting point, boiling point, and density of the elements and the oxygen compounds and hydrogen compounds. And with respect to the chemical properties, he looked at the molecular formula of the hydrogen compounds of the elements and the oxygen compounds of the elements. Now, if you look at the group information, for every group, he told us how that oxygen compound of that element will look like, how the hydrogen compound of that element will look like, if any. So group 1, when it says R2O, what it means is, if hydrogen will combine with oxygen, the formula will be H2O. If you look at carbon, which is in group 4, the way we can use this information is, it is telling us that if carbon combines with oxygen, the formula for that compound, molecular formula, is CO2. And if carbon combines with hydrogen, the formula will be CH4. Will be CH4. Give me a quick reaction if this is clear or not. The first element is Na, sodium. And I have got two answers from in the chat from Prachi and Chan, and both of you have written it correctly. It is Na2O. Na2O. Because At the top of the group, it says R2O. So Na2O. What did you write for silicon? If someone wants to speak, you can come out of mute and speak. Prachi has written SiO2. It is correct. For calcium, it is CaO. It is correct. For carbon, it is CO2. It is correct. For rubidium, it is Rb2O. Is correct. For phosphorus, it is P2O5. It is correct. For barium, it is BaO. Is correct. For chlorine, Cl2O7 is correct. For tin, Sn, stannum, SnO2 is correct. Finally, for calcium, it will be Ca. Just notice that when Mendeleev wrote the formula, he wrote like this: R, some number, and O, some number. He is writing the numbers on the top. We will not write it like that. We will not. We will write it the right way, the correct way. This is how we write. The next question is very, very similar to the first one. The only difference is now it is asking us the formula of the compounds. What compounds? Hydrogen compounds of these elements. So if you look at the periodic table that Mendeleev designed, at the top of the group, of each of the groups, he has written something like R, N, H, N, or M. Using that, you could have found that as Prachi has written, CH4. If you remember, this is methane. Carbon combines with hydrogen to form methane. Then for sulfur, using this formula, you will end up writing H2, but the correct formula is H2S. H comes before S. We write the cation first and then the anion. Similarly, for Br, if you follow what Mendeleev has said, you would have written this BrH. But the right way to write it is HBr. It's an acid. As, arsenic. AsH3 is correct. For F, fluorine, again it will change. It will not be FH, it will be HF. With oxygen, it will not be OH2. We know it is actually H2O. With nitrogen, it will be NH3, ammonia. With chlorine, it will not be ClH, it will be HCl, hydrochloric acid. Methane, hydrogen sulfide, hydrogen bromide, arsenic hydride, hydrogen fluoride, water, ammonia, and hydrochloric acid. Check your answers, write down the correct answers. After we have studied the periodic table that Mendeleev produced, and we got a glimpse of the periodic law that he came up with, we are now in a much better position to analyze what he has discovered and what he has found out. So not everything that he has found out is wrong, and not everything that he has found out is right. There are some advantages and there are some disadvantages. Merits are plus points, the advantages. Very important. Understand this clearly. Because this person was not blindly following the atomic mass, but he was giving more weightage to the properties, he could tell, he could guess that some of the atomic masses that were known at that time were wrong. Because अगर उसने उस atomic mass के हिसाब से उस element को classify किया होता, तो वो कहीं और जाकर बैठता. Classic example is beryllium. When Mendeleev was working, the atomic mass of beryllium was known to be 14.09. But he, based on the properties, he said, no, it should be less. Let us go back to the table and see what exactly are we talking about. Look where he has put beryllium. If he was blindly following the atomic mass, and at that time, atomic mass of beryllium was known to be 14.09, he would have ended up putting beryllium somewhere here. But he was smart. And this is where his work was different from Dobrynin's and Newland's. He said the properties of beryllium are not similar to nitrogen, phosphorus, vanadium, arsenic. They are similar to magnesium, calcium, zinc. So let me put it here, assuming that this mass is wrong. Let us calculate its atomic mass once again. And when that was done, he was proved to be right. The atomic mass in reality of beryllium was not 14.09, but 9.4. And it very neatly fits with magnesium, calcium, zinc, strontium, cadmium, barium. The second advantage was, again, because he did not blindly follow only the atomic mass, but he forced himself to classify elements based on their properties, some of the places were left vacant. And as Satyam and Chand have already said, Karthik also said, or whoever, he could predict that more elements are going to be discovered. Not only that, he could also predict what the properties of those elements will be. Not only that, he could also predict what the atomic mass of those elements will be or could be. If you remember, when we looked at the periodic table, we said, we looked at these places. So these are empty, but he gave a very accurate prediction. What is he doing? If you look at it carefully, 44 is between 40 and 48. Similarly, 68 is between 65 and 72. There is no magic. This is pure logic. So what he's doing is, he knows 65, he knows 75, and then he's saying there will be two more, going by the pattern of how the atomic masses are increasing. And he's also saying that the element that will be found with atomic mass 44, its properties will be similar to boron, aluminium, yttrium, indium. The element that will be found with atomic mass 72 will have properties similar to carbon, silicon, titanium, zirconium. This is what he was able to predict. That is how accurate, this is how forward-looking the table was. If we take one particular example, it is the case of something he called as Eka aluminium. He did not know what it was, but he said it will be like aluminium, so he called it Eka aluminium. And he predicted that the atomic mass will be 68. Remember seeing this 68 with a question mark, with a dash with it? It's written like this in the table. He predicted that the density of this element will be 5.9 grams per centimeter cube. Its melting point will be low. Its chloride will be of the formula ECl3. Its oxide will be of the formula E2O3. E is the element that is yet to be discovered, Eka. He also said the oxide of this element will be amphoteric. That means it will have some acidic properties. It will also have some basic properties. Last year, oxides of metals are basic. Oxides of non-metals are acidic. But there are some oxides which sometimes act as acid and sometimes act as bases. Two very important examples that we saw last year was aluminum and zinc. And when the new element was actually discovered, its atomic mass was 69.7. The density was 5.94 grams per centimeter cube. The melting point was as low as 30.2 degrees Celsius. It made a chloride with 3 chlorine atoms. It made a oxide with 3 oxygen atoms, and yes, it was amphoteric. And this name, the name that was given to this element was gallium. So the element that Mendeleev predicted as Eka aluminium was actually found as gallium. There are even more merits, advantages to the periodic table that Mendeleev formed. And it is very, very limited. It's very much related to point number 2. More elements were discovered, and not just one or two, a complete group of elements were discovered. They are called noble gases. They are called noble gases or inert gases. They are called noble or inert because they don't react. Their valency is 0. And it was very easy for Mendeleev to find place for these gases in his table. All he did was added a group, and he called it group 0. कैसे किया होगा उन्होंने? You see, from left hand side, he has group 1 to group 8. तो या तो उन्होंने last में, at the extreme right, he may have made another group, can call it group 0, or he could have made a group on the extreme left and could have called it group 0. But he did not have to. He did not have to disturb any of the other elements to find place for this group of elements, which are called noble gases or inert gases. Very smart. These are not all the advantages, or there are some other advantages also, but these are the main advantages that we need to understand. But as we said, not everything was good, not everything was correct, not everything was 100% right with this table. What were the problems then? There were some demerits. And most of the demerits was not because of what he did wrong. It was because of the limited information that he had. For example, cobalt and nickel. If you find out their atomic masses, take it as a homework and find out their atomic masses, you would see that whole number, the atomic masses are in decimals, right? The whole number part is same. The decimal part is different. Suppose it is 39.4 and 39.6. Now, because both are having the same whole number mass 39, and because we are still using the logic of atomic mass, we are not sure कि पहले कोबाल्ट आएगा कि पहले निकल आएगा, पहले निकल आएगा कि पहले कोबाल्ट आएगा. Unfortunately, these people did not know that there was another way to do it. Second problem, again related to isotopes. In the last class, Chand remembered that carbon 12 and carbon 14. So shall we take atomic mass as 12 or shall we take atomic mass as 14? If we take it as 12, we will find a place for it. If we take it as 14, we will find another place for it. But the chemical properties are same, only the physical properties are different, right? So this law, Mendeleev's periodic law or the Mendeleev's periodic table, could not answer about the accurate places for isotopes, whether they are isotopes of carbon, whether they are isotopes of chlorine or any other isotopes. Third one, although there was a continuous increase of the atomic mass, there was no clear pattern in the increase. Sometimes it increases by 1 unit, sometimes it increases by 10 units. Let us see what it means. Look at period 2. I hope you understand now what is period, the row. From lithium to beryllium, the change is 2.4. From beryllium to boron, it is 1.6. From boron to carbon, the change is 1. From carbon to nitrogen, it is 2. For nitrogen to oxygen, it is 2. From oxygen to fluorine, it is 3. And this is the simplest case. When we look at other cases, 23 to 24, 1. 24 to 27.3, 3.3. 27.3 to 28, only 0.7. 28 to 31, 3. 31 to 32, only 1. 32 to 35.5, 3.5 ka difference hai. Now the problem with this is, now he is not able to say ki theek hai. Now look at period 4. We know potassium, we know calcium. Now we know titanium. Because we don't know कि जब atomic mass change होता है कितने से change होता है, because it is not constant, he is not able to say and we are not able to guess कि calcium और titanium के बीच में और कितने elements हो सकते हैं. And the last demerit of use to us is the case of hydrogen. Hydrogen is, anyway, we will this year when we study in this chapter, we will understand more and more why hydrogen is very interesting. What was observed even by Mendeleev was hydrogen has some properties similar to halogens. And what are halogens? Halogens are these gases: chlorine, bromine, iodine. They are halogens. And hydrogen has some properties that are like alkali metals. What are alkali metals? Alkali metals are the elements lithium, sodium, potassium. So there is a problem. Shall we group hydrogen with alkali metals, that is with lithium, sodium, potassium, or with halogens? And how did he know that this is the case? He compared the compounds of hydrogen with the compounds of sodium. So just like it forms NaCl, Na forms NaCl, hydrogen forms HCl. Sodium forms Na2O, hydrogen forms H2O. Sodium forms Na2S, hydrogen forms H2S. अगर ऐसा ही होता तो कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं था. He also observed that just like chlorine, hydrogen molecule also has 2 atoms. Just like chlorine, hydrogen also combines with the metals to form NaH, as chlorine forms NaCl. Just as chlorine combines with carbon to form CCl4, tetrachlorocarbon, hydrogen also combines with carbon to form methane, CH4. तो क्या माने कि हाइड्रोजन सोडियम की तरह है कि हाइड्रोजन क्लोरीन हैलोजन की तरह है? Now, if we think of this in terms of the table that he has formed, the question in his mind is whether we keep hydrogen in group 1, जो कि अभी रखा हुआ है यहाँ पे, or we should keep hydrogen in group 7 along with fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine. So we looked at all these demerits. So even after all the good work that Mendeleev has done, there were and there are some problems with some gaps in his work. Once again, if I ask you, कि क्या करेंगे? Then Chand will say, someone else will come with a better theory. Yes, someone else will come with a better theory. But before we get into that better theory, let us go back to this question from the exercise. If you remember, last time we had answered the first one. We had found out, this is a matching question, and we found out triad from column 1 maps to C, average of the first and the third atomic mass in column 2 maps to, in column 3, Dobrynin at number 5. I had given you some homework where I had asked you to find out about electron, protons, and neutrons. And we studied something about octaves in this class now. So I believe you can now match octave, nucleus, and electron. Do the matching in your notebook, type the answer in the chat box, share it with everyone. We studied yesterday that in the structure of the atom, whichever model we follow, not whichever model, don't follow the Dalton's model, which was plum pudding model. If you follow any other model, especially the planetary model, all the atoms are made up of electrons, protons, and neutrons, and the protons and neutrons are concentrated, are grouped, are tightly packed at the center of the atom, and that place is called nucleus. Protons are positively charged, electrons are negatively charged, neutrons do not have any charge. So all the positive charge is at the center of the atom. Also, proton and neutrons, we have studied this last year. Protons and neutrons, we can consider them to have 1 unit of charge, 1 unit of mass, whereas electrons, we will say 0 mass. So all the mass of the atom and all the positive charge of the atom is concentrated in the nucleus. So 5th matches with D, and the existence of the nucleus was found out by Rutherford. Finally, when we look at electrons, we know, just now I said, they are negatively charged. Their mass is 0. We consider it as 0. So electrons map to A here, lightest and negatively charged particle in all atoms. And they were discovered by this scientist, J.J. Thomson. So, 2. This next question from the exercise, which is question number 6, part A. Question number 6 is about write short notes. And it says, write short notes about Mendeleev's periodic law. The reason I'm explaining this in the class is there are multiple ways of answering this question. If someone says, what is Mendeleev's periodic law? You writing it in just one sentence is enough. That properties of elements are periodic function of their atomic masses. Enough. But when the question becomes more than 1 mark, when the question becomes short notes, then just writing one sentence is not enough. It's a beginning. It is a beginning, and that is a correct beginning. So even in this case of short notes, don't start with the history and geography. Give the periodic law first. First write that Mendeleev's periodic law states that properties of elements are periodic functions of their atomic masses. Then you say how he arrived at that law. You will say he worked with 63 elements, arranged them in increasing order of atomic masses. He classified them based on their physical and chemical properties. what physical properties, what chemical properties. Using that, he ended up with a periodic table, and looking at that periodic table, he came up with this law. This is how we will write the answer. So what next? Some more research was done by more scientists. We will study about those research and those scientists next time, tomorrow. But to give you a hint of what we are going to study, we will come across this scientist called Henry Moseley. We will see how he, instead of working with atomic mass, he started working with atomic number, because by this time we had the knowledge that atoms are made up of protons, neutrons, and electrons, and atomic number is a number, whole number. Atomic number is the number of protons in an atom, and he tried to classify elements based on their atomic numbers. We will see what the current periodic law is, and we will also see how the in latest classification of the elements looks like in the form of the modern periodic table. The link to a interactive modern periodic table I shared with you in the last class. In the next class, we will look at the modern periodic table. It's also called as the long form of the periodic table. We will understand the different parts of it. But just to give you a hint, just as we called columns in Mendeleev's periodic table as groups and rows as periods, in the modern periodic table also, we call them groups and periods. The columns are groups, the rows are periods. So elements with common properties are one below the other in groups, in columns. It will be very good if before next class, if you compare what Mendeleev had found out and what we have found out now. It will make very interesting read. That brings us to the end of the session. You will complete the notes, and they must include Newland's law of octaves and Mendeleev's periodic law. You will answer question number 6A of the exercises, and if you want, you can start answering the matching wala question also, question number 1 of the exercise, or you can wait till we finish, find the answers to all the matching, right? Complete it today so that you are ready to study tomorrow.